What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're speaking the language of bromance. Shawn, you asked, and I delivered.
Oh, so Richard, a few episodes ago, we were talking about Princess Caribou, and we were talking about how you basically blew my mind with this event, these underground tunnels that happened in the upper northwest state of Oregon, specifically the city of Portland. And he said, "Oh my God, Shawn, there's underground tunnels and people get kidnapped and shanghaied." And I didn't have any clue what any of that meant. And I said, "You need to research this thoroughly and tell me all about it."
Well, I mean,
so,
you say thoroughly. I mean,
well,
I don't know. I wouldn't call what I did thorough, but
you've been gone for 6 months. Your feet are all tore up. You're tan. You've been talking about how you love the taste of raw fish now. So I want to know what happened. So tell me about this adventure that you went on to figure out.
It tastes like the ocean, Shawn.
It's
It's the only way food should taste.
Salty.
Just like of the ocean, you know? There's a difference. Anyway, my point is eat more fish. That's my point.
But not too much, because then you get mercury poisoning.
Well, that's why you mix it up. Eat some shellfish.
Although I heard recently somebody was like, I got to cut back on shrimp. I guess shrimp is super high in cholesterol or sodium. I think cholesterol.
Shawn, you hang out with terrible people.
I know, because I love shrimp.
I know.
I was like, it's fish. Too. It's got to be healthy. Like, no, it's like 90% salt. I'm like,
what do they know?
Yeah, I know. Well, they had a heart attack, and the doctor said, "Hey, how much shrimp do you eat?"
He did not. And he was like, well, and then he obviously said, well, you should eat more because it's delicious.
It's like, well, how much cocktail sauce do you use? Well, I drink the cocktail sauce. That's the problem.
Yep, see? Now we're getting to the root cause. We're going to WebMD this right now.
Good stuff.
It's not the shrimp, it's cocktail sauce. I like food that you have to work. That you have to work at to get. Like you set like a whole crab in front of me and hand me the little claw cruncher things.
Yeah.
And they're like, here, you want food? Go get it. And then you're like, all right. And then you crack, twist, rip.
Yeah, that's our Christmas Eve when I started dating Tiffany. Her parents have done that for years because they used to go to Red Lobster.
Yeah.
And this is stupid. This is super expensive. And we only get 2 crabs. So let's go and do this ourselves. And oh my God, you get pro at it, so you crack it and you pull that meat. And when you pull that whole
pull it
2.5, 3 inch. Oh yeah. Do you dip yours in butter at all, or is it just raw?
I don't know. I think I usually just eat it. I'm usually just I don't need the butter. I mean, yeah. I'll use it if it's there, but it doesn't need to be there.
I'm totally anti-butter.
Especially if you get a whole crab, then you open up the crab and then you dip the crab in the crab.
Yeah. So you kind of mix up the crab meat,
Ooh, well, you open up the I don't know, the chest cavity,
Mm-hmm.
and there's all that crab gloppy goodness, just sitting there.
Yeah, we only get the legs though, so I wonder if we should do that next time.
Because then you can dip the crab in the crab.
Aren't crabs, and maybe it's just lobsters, but won't they live forever? And so the only reason they die is because we eat them?
I don't know, maybe. I mean,
I think lobsters are that way.
They're basically, let's be real.
Insects.
They're sea bugs.
Well, they're probably actually alien beings that landed here.
Yeah, they were the ones that were meant to rule the earth.
Yeah. And then somebody invented butter.
Yeah. No, my one weakness.
Seafood.
Seafood. You know who has a lot of seafood? Ports. You know what kind of ports? Portland. Huh?
Oh, good segue. Why don't you bring this story to the port and we can learn about it?
All right. So, through not so extensive research, I'm going to talk to you about what Wikipedia has called, and I'm not just pulling from Wikipedia, but Wikipedia officially refers to them as the Shanghai tunnels.
Yeah, so a little bit known about it. So set us back, Richard. This is what, 1996 when this was happening?
Little bit farther, but Some reports say it went on as early as went on as late as the 1940s.
Could I buy that? I feel like I could, because that was still kind of like the Wild West of the world.
Exactly. It's like you and I have mentioned like a bunch of times. It's that era where like you could move like a town over and nobody knows you. Like you could have you could move to the next town over and be like, I'm a doctor. And then be like, well, he says so. So I guess he is.
I think like when they started doing like creating the Suburbans, like in the 50s and 60s, that kind of slowed down quite a bit. So I could definitely see it in the, because I mean, it's one of those things in the 40s too. It's like, well, where'd Richard go? Well, he must have went to the war.
He didn't get any of that 4F shit. He was 1A. He went and killed some Nazis.
Yeah.
Took out the fascists. So the Shanghai Tunnels is part of the old Portland Underground, better known locally as the Shanghai Tunnels. It is a group of passages in Portland, Oregon, mainly underneath the Old Town Chinatown neighborhood and connecting to the main business section.
Okay, so this makes a little bit more sense. So, because we talked about it, and you said they took him to China, Shanghai.
Well,
China.
it was usually Shanghai because that was the next port. You know, they sail from Portland to Shanghai.
Okay. So, we'll keep going on with the story. So this will make a little bit more sense.
Well, I'm just giving you like a quick little. I'm prefacing it with the official Wikipedia entry, and then I'll move into some deeper stuff. The tunnels connected the basements of many hotels and taverns to the waterfront of the Willamette River. They were originally built to move goods from the ships docked on the Willamette to the basement storage areas, allowing businesses to avoid streetcar and train traffic on the streets.
Okay, makes sense. Practical. Get to point A to point B quicker. You don't have to worry about like running into stuff or people trying to steal your goods.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because like you unload a ship and then you're like, God, like the guy unloads his, gets his cargo off a ship and then he's like, oh my God, now I got to deal with traffic. I got to put everything on a horse.
You probably have to go uphill too.
Yeah, I got to go through the town. I got to deal with a bunch of looky-loos. I got a cart full of booze. Like shit could get dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm going down the street with, a cart full of whiskey. Odds are somebody's going to be like, hey, that looks like pretty good, expensive whiskey. And then you're like, yep, just heading down the road.
Hey, what's that in your hand, mister?
Yeah. Bang.
Was that a pew-pew gun?
So an article says from 1850 to 1941, Portland was considered one of the most dangerous ports in the world and earned the moniker Forbidden City of the West.
Oh, wow.
The tunnels were used for legitimate practices, but far more illicit deeds were carried out in the tunnels as well. And then this article talks about what Shanghaiing is. Term Shanghaiing refers to the capture and sale of able-bodied men to ship captains in need of extra crew. Victims were either drugged with opiates, kidnapped while intoxicated, or simply knocked unconscious. How hard of a bender do you think you had to be to like wake up on a ship like that? You know what that should be? That should be a Hangover prequel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They go
like
back
Zach
in time.
Galifianakis wakes up on a ship and he's like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Well, I think you set it up so like it's like they're super old relatives back in like this 1840s, 1850s time frame.
Yeah.
But like you think about it, Richard, I can pinpoint 2 times I was definitely drunk enough that somebody could have picked me up and taken me to a boat, and there's not much I could have done about it.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that I would be aware enough to be like, I don't think I should be on this boat. Like, I'm not saying that I put up, a stern fight.
Yeah, but think about it. They'd be like,
well,
do you want to go?
I'd be like, I don't want to go on the boat.
But don't you want to pull the string so the boat goes toot toot? I do want to make it go toot toot. Let's go. Boom. Fall to the ground.
Splash. And dead. But see, like in some of these cases, You don't even need to be drunk. You could be on some opiates, which is always a good time.
Well,
until
you
wake up on a boat.
Yeah, when you said they could knock you out too, like
see, that's worst case scenario. You're stone cold sober, and somebody just comes up behind you and goes,
because that A could take more than one hit, and B could probably kill you. Because I feel like there's a thin line between being knocked unconscious and being like killed.
Yeah, I feel like it's a thin line as well, and there's a lot of like mitigating factors.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if it's one of those things too, like if that's your job is to like knock people unconscious and put them on boats, you probably get pretty good at it.
That's a good point. What do you think you use? What would you use to knock somebody unconscious in like one fell swoop?
Oh, at this time,
I've never seen anybody like completely knocked unconscious like in real life. Like I've seen it on television, and I see it like in a boxing match or an MMA fight.
Yeah, because if you get hit in the chin, I think it can knock you out pretty well. Because, yeah, you want to avoid the temple, but it'd probably just be kind of like a round billy club because you wouldn't want anything with sharp edges because that would, could bust somebody open.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's probably got to be, this is from movies and stuff, but it probably has to be more like of an upward motion. So it's more of a hard glancing blow.
Yeah, I don't think I've been anywhere in the world. I don't think I've been like in the world and seen somebody like knocked unconscious. Just like somebody just goes, bop, and then dude's out.
I did see a great episode of do you remember the TV show Cheaters?
Yes.
So for people that don't know, Cheaters was a show where this person would be like, I think my spouse or my girlfriend's cheating on me. And it was basically like reality TV. And this guy's like, well, let's investigate. And all
like Jerry Springer, but like it was like Jerry Springer meets cops.
Yeah, because that dude got shot, I think, didn't he? The guy who hosted the show?
Yeah. Either he got shot or stabbed or something.
Yeah. So basically what they do is they hire investigators and they look around and they'd be like, hey, Bob, so I've got some bad news. Your wife is cheating on you and she sucks a lot of wieners. And we've got
like a bunch. Like, look, here's a wiener.
Exactly.
Here's a wiener. And here's a wiener. And here's two wieners. As you can see, she's, getting better. Here's a wiener. Another wiener.
The benefit is that she does that.
Here's the first one, but she went back.
Here, these are your copies. It's like, it's good, right? She seems really good at it, so at least you get that at home, right? You're like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, Bob, but the bad news
is gone, and apparently I know what she's doing.
And it's like, Bob, well, we've got her on the corner of Loose and Goose.
Yeah.
So they show up.
Like, do you not? Okay, so I understand when Cheaters came out, like it was 100% like the Wild West of reality TV. But do you not think that somebody like in that writer's room or producer's room was like, okay, like I get, like we find out if they've been cheating or whatever, and we do like the little investigations, and then we have the confrontational moment where we're like, oh, look, here's a wiener, here's a wiener. I get all that. But is it really a safe thing to do to be like, okay, now we're all going to get in a car and we're going to drive down the street and we're going to meet her in the middle of we're going to catch her right in the middle of the act. Either she's like walking down the street with this other dude, or he's walking down the street with this other girl, or whatever. But like, we're going to go catch them red-handed, and you're going to go absolutely ape shit. Like,
well, yeah, because it's like, oh, sorry.
On the production staff be like, I don't know about this, guys.
Well, this was before
this is a recipe for somebody to get shot or stabbed.
This was before Home Makeover. So what you could have done is Cheaters Home Makeover, where it's like, listen, we're going to get you a divorce lawyer, change all the locks. We're going to throw her shit on the yard, and the confrontational moment's going to be like, locks are changed. Sorry.
Yeah. Like, why couldn't that be it? Where the guy just like, stands on like the balcony of his fucking, 5-floor walk up and is like, your stuff's outside, bitch. Fuck you.
Go stay with your whore. My name's Greg. Whatever, whore.
Yeah. Like, I hate you. I saw so many wieners today. It was terrible. Get out. And then credits. Like, why couldn't they just do that? But no, instead what they do, Shawn, is they load you into they load this like man who's just been like basically like had his entire world shaken. They're like, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put you in a car and we're going to have you go confront these two people in the middle of whatever act they're doing.
So then they do the confessional afterwards, like, so how do you feel, Bob? Oh, I feel amazing, Steve. What the fuck do you think?
Yeah. I'm just glad that I know now. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. No.
I mean, you're probably glad you know, but you're probably not glad that you walked in and knocked on the window while, you know. But the one I saw.
There is a stark difference between, like, you know, having a suspicion confirmed. Yeah, there's a difference between knowing and seeing. You know what I mean?
Because even if they tell you and you find out and you're like, all right, well, we're splitting up and whatever, like, you know, but you haven't like visibly like have visual proof.
Yeah. And like, do you like what person in their right mind like wants that?
Yeah. I mean, and if they do, it's like, well, we're not getting divorced because we just found out that we're both into this.
Like, if that was me, what was the guy's name that hosted that? Richard Grieco. If Richard Grieco came up to me after I was like, yeah, I'll do this show. If Richard Grieco came
like, wait, why do you guys ask me to be on the show?
Yeah. If he came up to me and was like, okay, so Richard, here's a wiener. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put you in a car and you're going to go drive and you're going to go like confront these people. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. There's no part of me that wants to do that at all. Not even a little bit.
Do you think like they set like nowadays they would just set this whole thing up as like a big like miscommunication? Like they tell you this like, Richard, look, we've got this wiener. And it's like, that guy looks like my wiener. No, it's not your wiener. Totally. And it's your wife. And we just see that she's with this guy. Wait, that's Shawn. And you drive and confront us. And like Amanda and I are driving to get like you this really awesome birthday present. Like, you're sleeping with my best friend. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Richard, no, I'm going to kill you, Shawn.
And then you put up, as you're being choked, you put a little party hat on me and you blow the little kazoo thing. Happy birthday.
You kill me. Oh, happy birthday, Richard. But the one I saw, it was sad because the guy goes to confront his girlfriend or wife with the guy like in the act. And so the guy like banging his girlfriend gets real confrontational back. And so they do the whole like, you know, unprofessional boxing thing. Like they're circling each other, they got their arms up.
Fuck you, bro.
Yeah. And the one guy throws a punch and kind of misses. And then the dude that was banging his girlfriend or wife connects like right on the chin and knocks him out.
No.
And always, it's like even like I probably watched that when I was way too young, like probably like 12.
Oh,
no. And I had the thought like, all right, well, this dude just found out his girlfriend or wife, I don't remember what it was, is cheating on him, caught him in the act, and then he just got knocked the fuck out.
I'd be like, I hate this show.
Yeah.
Why did you do this to me?
Why did you ruin my wife, Richard Greer?
Richard Grieco. He probably came to and was like, I hate this and I hate you. Stab.
Where did you get that knife? From catering.
But yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like I would much rather prefer to like be so drunk that I wake up on a boat rather than like somebody going whap, 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 whap. And then I wake up on a boat.
Yeah. But even then, so they probably put you in a room and like if it was really bad, you got really drunk, you're going to have that hangover. And like it's going to be like the whole room is spinning and rocking. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is the worst hangover ever.
And then you go to find the toilet and then you realize that the toilet is like the side of a boat.
Yeah. Or it's like in the cartoons and it's a bucket and the bucket keeps moving. Like, wait a second.
Oh, come back. Over here. They were drop drug. Okay. They were then after they were not unconscious, they were then dropped or dragged into the tunnels through trap doors called deadfalls.
That's even worse. You're like drunk and they just open this door and you go, ah, thump.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're just standing there, and then like you're a little drunk, and you're getting kind of you're super drunk, and like you get a little belligerent, and the bartender's like, "I think you've had enough," and then you're like, "I think you have had enough, bartender," and the bartender's like, "Oh, really?"
Thunk. Your last thought is like, I was wondering what that lever was for.
Imagine, well, see, but not just that. Like, imagine being the guy that was sitting next to that guy. He's like, I think you're great. I think you're
check,
great,
please. Check, please. So I guess that's because tip used to mean
I'm not gonna tip you, you son of a bitch.
Well, I always
Anybody
heard like
else
back.
Not want a tip? Nope.
I always heard back in the day, like you used to tip before you got service because it was to ensure proper service.
Oh, maybe.
So that could be like if somebody threw down like a wooden nickel and the guy throws down $1, it's like, well, the wooden nickel guy's going to go.
Yeah.
And the guy with
fuck
a $5
this wooden nickel guy.
Yeah.
Hey boys, I got one coming. So they were dragged into the tunnels through trapdoors called deadfalls, which could be found in pretty much all bars and saloons. Once in the tunnels, the captives were locked in any number of cramped underground cells until they could be sold off to a life of slavery at sea.
Oh.
So that's the thing is, you don't wake up on a boat. You wake up in a cage in underground in the dark.
Oh, honestly, like that's one of my big fears is like being kidnapped.
Is that, I mean, how rational a fear is the fear of being kidnapped?
I mean, it's probably one of those things.
Like,
if you
I don't have a lot of money. Like, nobody's going to kidnap me for ransom.
Well,
if
that's
anything,
not why
they're going to kidnap me for this. They're going to kidnap me for manual labor. Not to like sell me back to my loving family who would happily pay any amount in order to get me back, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
Shawn, they want me back, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, they'll probably have to you'll probably have to do some sexual favors to get that price point down.
Probably.
But that would probably be what you'd be used for, or torture.
Man, the poor keep getting poor, man.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking
I mean, this
classism.
is kind of like,
but Paris Hilton doesn't have to suck any dick in order to get out of this fucking cage.
I mean, that's kind of how she made her career.
Oh, yeah, but she did that and they gave her money. I have to do it in order to pay less. That's where the disparity is. I mean, if we're talking about getting paid, that's one thing. If somebody hands me a wad of cash, I'll take a shot in the mouth.
Yeah, but I mean, you're paying for your life, Richard. But it's like what I was trying to say. It's probably it's one of those things that like if you looked at the numbers of how many people get kidnapped in a year, like, and the odds are probably really low, but I bet they're higher than what you think. Because it's also
everything's higher than you think.
Yeah, because it's like the whole like how many serial killers are actually out there right now, and like the FBI says like, oh, it could be like 25 or 30. You're like, wait, what?
It's like when people tell you like that they're afraid of being like out in the woods and being eaten by wolves. And then somebody tells you that like statistically you're more likely to die from a soda machine falling on top of you. And then you're like, that doesn't make sense, but it's true.
And but see, that one's kind of avoidable because that's just kids like climbing on it and shaking it.
Or if you really want a soda. Because I mean, I don't know. There are times.
Well, see, you just kind of got to hit it from the side. So if it does fall, you've got room to run.
Yeah. That's true. Able-bodied men were not the only people who ran the risk of being shanghaied, Shawn.
Uh-oh.
Portland's daughters were also told to avoid certain areas of town where women were regularly kidnapped and sent to faraway cities to be sold.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so you want to get really sad. I mean, that's kind of a concern today, right?
Yeah.
Because that's again, if you wanted to deep dive and research that, you're like, oh, wait, because
You know,
Sex
maybe
trafficking
that's
is
why
very-
they've opened up like tours and stuff for these underground tunnels now, because you know they're like, hey, let's put some tours down there just so we have people walking around, so these actually don't get used.
Just in case. Yeah, I can see it.
Stories can be found about slaves being eaten by starving crews.
Yeah,
Don't be
cannibalism.
that guy. You just went out. See, here's the thing, Shawn. You just went out to have a good time. It was Friday night. You know, you just got paid at I don't know where you're working, the cobbler shop. You were making shoes all week. Guy hands you a little bit of cash. And you're like, I'm going to go celebrate. It's my first paycheck. And so you go out to the local Portland bar, and, you know, you drank a little too much.
Well, and you tell the bartender, like, hey, I can get you some better shoes. And he takes offense because those are his good shoes.
Yeah.
And
he's like, I can get you some better looking shoes. And he's like, what are you talking about? These are my Sunday shoes. And then you're like, whoa, those are your Sunday shoes? And then you fall through a hole in the floor. Then you wake up on a boat. Okay.
Yeah.
So after you wake up on a boat, then everybody on the boat's like, getting mighty hungry.
Yeah, but you look around, you're like, oh, well, at least I can use my cobbling skills. And you look and everybody's barefoot.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck. I'm not even pretty.
Nope.
Yep. And what they do, Richard, since you like rum.
And you got those big, strong arms from hammering with your cobbler's hammer. You have those big, strong, meaty arms.
Yeah.
And they're looking at you and they're like,
yep. They're like,
mighty hungry.
What'd you drink last night? Rum. Oh, we love rum cake, but we'll take rum Richard next.
Yep. Why are you throwing raisins at me? Don't worry about it.
Talk about
rum
exotic
raisin
food.
Richard.
Talk about exotic food, Richard. Human flesh. Oh, it's delicious.
Especially when I like it when like they hand you a person and then they give you like a knife and they're like, go nuts. And then you got to like sit there and work at it. You know, like I said, I like to work for my food.
Yeah. Cause I mean, when they're like, no, don't, you're like,
yeah. Yeah.
That's when you put the apple.
You got to kill them quick and then hurry up and put them in the water.
Oh, I thought you just had to put the apple in the mouth.
No, you kill them quick. So that way the fear doesn't have a chance to like taint the meat.
But I always heard the fear made the meat taste better. That's what Pennywise told me.
Oh, what does he know? He's a clown.
It's true.
He's literally a clown.
I got dark, Richard.
Stories can be found about slaves being eaten by starving crews, underground opium dens, humans trafficked under the streets of Portland, and men who returned from sea only to be captured again by clever and brutal Shanghaiers.
Oh, this sounds a lot like so it's the book in a movie called Unbreakable about a guy in World War II that basically he survived a crash landing on a plane in the water in the Atlantic. And he's on a boat, so survived that. He's fighting sharks. He's fighting all kinds of things.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that one. And then Samuel Jackson's in the wheelchair, and he's like, "Fuck you!" And then he puts him on a boat to Shanghai, right? And then he's eaten by.
I don't think so.
Oh.
This guy was kidnapped by the Japanese, and then so basically you're floating in the water, starving, and they're like, "Oh, thank God, a boat!" But it's the Japanese, and they're like, "Ha ha, got you!" And then they kidnap you, kind of.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Supposedly, and okay, so this isn't confirmed. Supposedly, the Portland Underground shanghaied about 3,000 people a year.
Oh, so this was about 100 years, so 300,000 people?
Close, yeah. Just about that. 1850 to 41, so like 91 years.
Oof. So, like you're talking like this was in the Chinatown area, right?
They said the old Chinatown area and towards what did I say? The old Chinatown area and basements linked to each other and to the Willamette River.
So, do they say was this mostly like Chinese immigrants they were taken back to China, or like
I think
anybody?
It was just anybody.
Anybody? Because like I said,
Shawn, this is the era of, you know, like we were saying earlier, like you move to the next town and nobody knows who the fuck you are.
It's true. I would just think you would stand out like as a white dude in China.
Well, yeah, but nobody cares if you're a white dude in China. It's not you wouldn't be a white dude in China. You'd be a white dude on a boat.
But they took you to the Shanghai port, right? Or they just kept you on the boat?
They usually just kept you on the boat. Well, because here's the thing, Shawn. Like, let's say hypothetically you get kidnapped and you get shanghaied and you're put on this boat and you're like, well, I guess I gotta, work on this boat. And so you work on the boat and then you get to Shanghai. Okay, so now you're in mainland China. What's the plan now, Shawn? You're gonna leave the boat and do what? You're in the middle of a completely foreign nation where you probably don't speak the language. Your best bet is to hopefully either stay on that boat and hope that it goes back to Portland, or maybe get on another boat that's going back to Portland. Like what do you do? What do you do when you're there? Like, what would you do?
Well, and to be fair, like if you leave on that boat from Portland and go to China, that's probably like a 6-month journey, at least a 3-month journey.
Yeah, I have no idea how long the boat trip will be. Yeah, you're probably right though, about like probably 3 to 6 months.
Because that would have been before steam engines. If it's
you're sailing like along the Atlantic the Pacific. You're sailing across the Pacific.
At that point, I guarantee you're building Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
So let's say at minimum it's a minimum 8-month round trip. By the time you get back, they're probably like, hey, you can leave if you want. It's like, no, let's capture some more fuckers and take them with us.
I'll help this time.
As long as I get the thigh bone.
Let's get my wife, that cheating bitch.
Where's that Richard Grader son of a bitch?
And then this other guy, Richard Grieco, fuck that guy. He showed me pictures of dicks all for like an hour. I hate him. Let's put him on the boat.
I'm pretty sure he enjoyed my pain.
Since the mid 19th century, stories have been told about Shanghai practices in Portland. Not only men but women were warned to take care against being drugged or kidnapped and hauled off for sale. They said usually the sale was around $50, so you could make $50 per person. So if you were the kidnapper, then you could make $50 a head to a ship captain.
So what would that be in today's dollars? So $50 in 1850 is worth about $1,700 today.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not much.
Well, I know, but I mean, like, what work are you doing? Like, especially if the guy's like already drugged, like all you're really doing is like picking up a body and putting it in a cage and then dragging it down a dark hallway to a boat.
Yeah, but like back, like that. To me, when it comes to crime, it's kind of like risk reward. Like today, if you like did that, like I don't think it'd take much for you to get caught.
Well, no, but back then, like I don't think you were really in fear of being caught.
Yeah, so like
caught by who?
Yeah, back then, like that seems like a pretty decent gig, but like now it doesn't. Like that does not seem worth it at all.
Although other ports along the West Coast, including San Francisco, are said to have been centers of Shanghai activity, Portland's underground tunnels are claimed to have made the practice much more manageable and widespread than in other areas.
Oh, yeah. I guess San Francisco would probably be a pretty good spot for it, too.
Yeah. Once in the tunnels, they were locked in specially designed prison cells and held captive until they were shipped off as slave laborers. And I think I talked about that. The episode where I mentioned this, the thing I saw was they would put them in a cage, and it looked like a normal cage. But one thing that they would do is they basically like kept it pitch black. So the guys would have like lanterns, and they knew their way around down there, and they just have a lantern, but they wouldn't leave any lights. They wouldn't leave any lights on in the tunnels. So let's say somehow you manage to get out of your cage. Maybe maybe you got like a piece of something that you're able to like, jimmy a lock open. Okay. So now you're out of the cage, but you're still underground in pitch black darkness. One thing that they would do is they would take off shoes. They would take off your shoes. So,
and if you're the cobbler, that'd be your worst like fear ever.
I know.
First thing you're like, where's my shoes? Where's my shoes?
They would take off your shoes, and then all along the hall, like throughout the whole tunnels, they would just spread like broken glass or nails or whatever, because either two things would happen. Either A, you step on the broken glass and you're hobbled and you're not going anywhere, because now you're worried about stepping on more broken glass that you can't see because it's pitch black. Or B, you cut your foot on this broken glass and or nails, and then the guys come back and they'll be like, okay, time to go meet Captain Ahab. And then they see that the cage is open. They're like, oh, shit. But
not again.
Yeah, but then you've left this lovely blood trail going through the tunnel. So they're just like, oh, well,
then they can listen too, because you just hear ow, 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 ow.
Yeah.
That feels very sadistic.
It's a very demented kind of Home Alone tactic. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Do you think that's where they got it?
Maybe. Because fucking Daniel Stern he stepped on those Christmas ornaments and like he instantly like went to the ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then they could have the iron, so if you open a door, like your hair would catch on fire.
Yeah.
You go, ah! Instead of moving.
During Prohibition, it is said that bars moved their operations underground, as well, making it easier than ever for unsuspecting victims to be shanghaied. So during Prohibition, obviously can't drink. So then all the bars are like, well, we'll just open an underground bar because we have an underground and it's convenient. It's away from prying eyes. And I mean, it's Prohibition. So, is it just me, or was Prohibition not one of like the dumbest things that we came up with as a country? Because like it was all right, nobody's going to drink ever. And like nobody followed it.
Well, it wasn't even that. You just couldn't manufacture and sell alcohol, but you could possess and own alcohol.
Yeah, but nobody followed it.
No. Yeah, because, well, like you buying the alcohol was illegal, but once you had it, like there's nothing they could do about it because you weren't selling it. Yeah, what was the push for that? Because there's a lot of like
I think it was pretty much like it was a big like puritanical thing. Be like, oh, demon alcohol.
No, I don't think that had a lot to do with it.
I honestly have no idea. I have not looked into Prohibition and why it happened. I just know that it happened and it was dumb. And we got rid of it like 3 years later?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it created like this whole like, because there's the movie with Tom Hardy and the Shia LaBeouf.
The only thing I remember about Prohibition, everything I know about Prohibition, I learned from that show on a Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, because it created like this whole like basically criminal empires. That's where like a lot of that came from. Yeah,
like the whole organized crime of the 40s and 50s, like, and people went like, how did they get so powerful? Well, because they ran bars during Prohibition and made a fuck ton of money. It wasn't
illegal to possess; it was just illegal to sell.
Yeah, and they made fuck tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
So Prohibition happens, and all these bar owners are like, okay, well, we'll just put the bar underground because we have an underground, so why not use it? And then that just made it even easier, because then you're just sitting at the bar and you just get grabbed and drugged down a side tunnel.
And then people are just like, well, it's the only place to get booze, so
yeah,
it's kind of a crapshoot. You just hope it's not you. How much of an alcoholic do you have to be like, well,
I mean, know there's a chance that I might get whacked over the head and sold into slavery. But man, like, it's Friday.
My wife, I just caught her cheating on me. This Richard Gere guy is showing me all these drawings of my wife and penises.
We didn't have photographs. Yeah. So he just hand drew. It took him probably like 2 days. He just hand drew like 18 pictures of dicks.
And he's pretty good. Like, I'm like, that wasn't that big. It was. Trust me. You know, can I volunteer to go on this ship?
Like, I respect the commitment, but seriously, like, fuck that guy. Some researchers estimate that as many as 1,500 people a year were shanghaied through Portland's underground. Entire scenarios about the practices and experiences of the Shanghai tunnels have been. Oh, so some of these stories, are just complete. They're saying that some of these stories are complete bullshit.
Well, how do you know unless somebody's like the people doing the kidnapping probably didn't tell their side of the story.
I remember when I took these 3 guys and one of them said something really dumb. So I just killed him and then I sold the other 2. So
I made $100.
And yeah, see, that's the other thing. Like, let's say you're the Shanghaier, then you kidnap a guy, you drag him to the boat, and you sell him for $50, and now you got $50. But what are you gonna do? You gonna go drink at the bar? No, you're not, because then somebody else is gonna come along and whack you over the head and sell you, and also take all your money.
Yeah, vicious cycle, Richard.
This is why I prefer to drink at home.
Wait, why does the floor look
you can take a tour aimed at demonstrating the validity of the Shanghai legend and decide for yourself. But let's see.
Do you think while you're on the tour, the guide's like, hey, can you smell this? Does this smell like chloroform to you?
Yeah, that's how the tour guides do it now. The tour guides are our modern Shanghaiers.
Yeah.
But like, how does that work? Then they so, oh my God, Shawn, what if everybody that's working on a cruise ship have been kidnapped?
Oh shit, that's their cry for help. Like that one ship that was like tipping over, they were trying to escape. Could you imagine? Actually, you know what? That may not be too bad of a gig working on a
Maybe that's why
ship.
Everybody that works on a cruise ship has like that dead look in their eyes.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think if you could do like a live show on a cruise ship, do you think it'd be that bad? I've never been on one, so I don't know.
I've never been on a cruise ship, so I don't know, but I could definitely see it getting old fast.
Yeah, but I think they when they have people who do shows on those type of things, like 2 shows a week or something like that, they make a shit ton of money from what I've heard. Like comedians or musicians. It's like the downgraded Vegas.
I mean, I've known a couple of people that have like worked in kitchens on cruise ships, and they're like, it's okay. Like, you basically like you make a bunch of food. Usually like you make a bunch of food for like a mealtime, and then the rest of the time you're just kind of fucking off. But obviously you're not, you can't fuck off with like the people that like paid money to be there, so you're just kind of like hanging out in like the shitty part of the ship.
Yeah, I could see that kind of sucking, because like it's not even like you can hang out by the pool. I'm sure you probably could, but it's one of those things.
I mean, like in some cases you can, because I mean, like you put on a Hawaiian shirt and fucking some, you put on a Tommy Bahama shirt and some cargo shorts, and like who's gonna know the fucking difference? Yeah,
but you got to be really careful. You don't like piss off a person or like drink one too many and start hitting on some dude's wife, and then Richard Gere shows up and says, see, Greg, I told you.
Hang on, I need to take a picture of your dick real quick. Wait, what? It's okay. It'll all be made clear to you later. 4 hours later, some guy shows up and punches you in the face.
Don't worry, we'll pixelate it when it's on TV. Wait, what? What's going to be on TV?
Let's see. There was a story in the New York Times about it. Today, Portland is renowned as one of America's most livable cities, but just a short century and a half ago, it was infamously regarded as one of the most dangerous port cities on the West Coast, if not the world. So there's that. Seas connection, blah, blah, blah. As it previously happened to port cities, Portland became rough and gritty and also hosted a large number of miners and loggers. In 1889, the Oregonian described it as the most filthy city in the northern states for the lack of an adequate urban sanitary infrastructure. At the turn of the 20th century, some consider Portland one of the most dangerous port cities in the world. known for its large number of brothels and saloons, as well as widespread gambling.
To this day, or is that back then?
Back then, this would have been like late 1800s.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense because, again, that was kind of like the Wild West. Like, that's, when everything started moving that direction, like, that's even, like, further up. You're close to the Canadian border, I believe. No, I guess not.
You're like...
Because Washington's between it.
Yeah. You're like in the base. It's on the coast. It's like, I think if I remember right, I think it's like smack in the middle of Oregon, like in terms of like latitudinally, if that's a word.
I mean, it's not too far. How far is Portland to Seattle? Because Seattle's right there on the border.
Let's see. At some of the buildings, the first lower ground can still be entered from the road, as it was never meant to be secret. It's a common sight in American cities, 2 metal doors flat on the floor as a section of the sidewalk along the building site, usually not far from where the entrance is. To this day, they are routinely used as access to the basement annex rooms of a business, such as a restaurant, hotel, or gym. Inevitably, these spaces and even the lower levels came to be used for activities that needed to be carried out in the shadows. The tunnels would have been, and mostly still are, pitch black unless for the flame light of lanterns, candles, or matches. The tunnels had many levels, and most were interconnected from building to building by crossing under the roads above. So basically, the tunnels almost kind of like mirrored the streets.
Okay.
And then just put in like they would connect to rooms underneath businesses.
Okay. Makes sense. Because they'd probably follow like the sewer system and stuff.
Yeah. Here where opium dens, gambling tables, prostitution premises, and crime gangs' hideouts were found. Furthermore, there were also human trafficking holding cells. In one of the tours led by Portland Tunnels, the tour guide explained to the group, which this person was part of, what the sordid people did and showed some of the premises where it happened. In this dark, low-ceiling room built out of rough concrete stood a wooden box, because it was essentially a box, barely big enough to fit a sitting person, with bolts and a lock to secure it. It was described as the way to break the women who had been kidnapped from around the city. The same torturers also kidnapped and sold men of any age or provenance, although in a less vicious way. They sold them to ship captains for long-haul trips. The practice was known then as crimping, and the perpetrators were called crimps. In the mid-19th century, an exodus of mariners joining the California gold rush was one of the reasons for the significant shortage of skilled sailors. So basically, like, you're on a boat, like, say you're a boat captain and you land in Portland, and then guys like, hey, if you go like 20 miles that way, I found gold nuggets as big as my fucking head. And then everybody that's on your boat's like, well, fuck you. I'm not working on this goddamn boat anymore. I'm going to go get a gold nugget. And then they all leave. And then you're like, oh shit. Like, I still gotta haul all this crap to China. How the fuck am I going to do that? And then some guy's like, I can help you with your problem. You're like, Jesus Christ, where'd you come from?
Came from under there. I'm
a crimper. And you're like, what, like a barber? No, a crimper. Yeah, like what you do with your hair. No, a crimper. I don't know what that means.
Is that
Portland
code?
Surpassed San Francisco and Shanghai in the mid-1800s. There were many unsavory people involved in this human trafficking practice, from full-on gangs controlling a few city blocks and its saloons to, quote, freelance men collaborating with an owner of an opium den. But one person infamously stood out. He was called the King of the Crimps. His name was Joseph Bunko Kelly.
Bunko. Is that a nickname or actually his name?
That's a nickname. Bunko.
Oh.
Joseph, quote, Bunko, unquote, Kelly.
Because whenever he kidnapped a dude, he'd be like, hey, I want to bunko with you. Wait, what does that mean? Wait, why are the lights out?
In his own words, he kidnapped and sold 2,000 men and women over the course of 15 years.
Dang. That's what would I say? That'd be $100,000? That's 5,000 people?
He once managed to sell a sailor to a captain, which actually turned out to be a wooden statue of a tobacconist store.
Oh, so he was selling wooden statues?
Like wrapped, like the wooden Indians that you see in front of cigar places.
Yeah.
He probably like wrapped one up in a sheet and he's like, all right, I got this guy, $50. The captain's
he might come too, so we'll do 25.
Yeah. Another time he sold 22 men, most of whom turned out to be dead by embalming fluid intoxication.
So he seems like he was just a really good salesman.
He's like the P.T. Barnum of fucking kidnapping.
Yeah. It's like these guys smell. It's like you're going to be on the ocean. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Salty sea air. They just need aired out a little. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been down in the cages. Like they've been there for a little bit. Like
they've been there for like 30 days with no food or water.
To shower.
Wait, did you say no food or water for 30 days? Yeah, but they'll be fine. Just dump some water on them.
Yeah. Put water on them and they melted. Ha-ha, they're made of chocolate. I
thought you were going to say like he sold a captain to himself.
Another time he collected 52 men in 3 hours.
Man. That's a heck of a...
like it sounds like these are all like his stories. He's like, one time, and this I caught a fish this big. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's actually never even been to Portland.
So how did the Crimps kidnap people in Portland? Various ways, including simply taking away passed out people found anywhere. Although simple, this route still carried risks for the Crimps of being caught. Saloons became the prime spots for crimping, as there was a constant flux of people and ideal conditions to enact a well-tested plan. It was also safer and therefore overall more lucrative. Most people on the premises were either drunk, dealing with other men or women, or simply minding their own business in the dark, loud, and smoky room. They wouldn't have noticed something happening to the targets, who were mostly drunk men sitting in a saloon car. You know, that's a good point. Like, it's a room full of drunk people. Like, if two guys show up and just kind of like, you know, pick one guy up and walk outside, like...
Yeah, well, and if you're standing there, you'd be like, oh, look, a seat's just opened up.
Yeah.
Thump. Yeah, does that not make you, again, you're talking about like unrational fears, but like, does that not make you nervous like the next time you go out to like a city you're not familiar with and you get a little bit too drunk that you don't really kind of a little bit incoherent, like, but not like all the way, like what could happen?
Yeah, you wake up and you walk into a bathroom, you like stumble into a bathroom and then you like splash some water in your face and you put a towel on and you pull your head away and you look at the towel and you're like, Carnival? Why does the towel say Carnival? Wait a minute. I'm on a boat.
Oh, why's my shift got to start in an hour?
They would get drunk without extra help, although pills could have been used to make them unconscious, or perhaps it was needed simply an extra... Or perhaps all it was needed was simply an extra pint of beer, quote, on the house. Patrons would sit for a long time since they didn't even have to get up to relieve themselves, as counters had the necessary equipment for that.
Wait, you could just pee at the bar?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't realize that was a thing. Or did they just pee on the floor? Because there's the deadfall, so it just leaked to the ground.
No, probably both.
Which would have softened the fall.
Also, like, if you're the guy... like underneath a trap door, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this dude's pissing on me. Hey, and then you just bang on the floor and be like, send this guy down here. I want to have some words.
Hey, oh God, I got it in my
mouth. The bartender, a key figure in the scheme, would either signal the go to his accomplices or activate the trap door himself under the patron's stool, who would plunge to the first lower level on something that softened the fall like a pile of rugs.
Oh man, like you have to be careful with that, because like what if you go behind like some like big dude that's like super strong, like, oh, that dude's gonna be awesome, and you're trying to find the button under his seat and he feels you poking around underneath his butt. And he's like, dude.
Like, sorry. Name's Richard Grieco. I was just looking to draw a picture.
Did you know your wife's cheating on you?
Landing unconscious or made unconscious, the victim would then be taken to another room, stripped of his shoes, Because even if he somehow managed to get out of the makeshift cell, the corridors were carpeted with broken glass. At some point, usually within a few hours from the kidnapping, the man would have been transported to the ship. A rough awakening awaited him. He would come around with a hangover on a ship out at sea. His confusion and protest meant nothing as the officer showed him his signature on a contract binding him for a round-trip voyage to a faraway location, one probably never heard of before to the unfortunate soul. And this trip might have taken up to 6 years.
Ooh, so they basically say like, oh, you signed this contract, dude.
You're like, that's not my name. They're like, oh, that's what it says.
It says my name, clearly.
Yeah.
MYNAME. Oh, it looks like a legal document.
My name. That's a dumb name, by the way. Can we call you something else? Yeah, you can call me by my actual name, which is Steve. Well, then you should have signed it, Steve. I didn't sign it.
Well, listen, when we get to a lawyer, we'll let you talk to him. Well, what will that be? 6 years.
Fuck. Oh, fuck.
Well, guess I got to move up the corporate ladder.
Of course, the signature was a forgery. It didn't matter. The boarding masters...
Spoiler alert.
The boarding masters brokers who helped muster a ship's new crew in one way or the other, including Shanghai, made sure the signatures were done and the deal was set. Furthermore, on top of the finding fee, they might have taken the sailors' first few months of wage, too. They were usually given to the boarding masters to buy the necessary equipment for the sailor to start the journey.
Oh, so yeah, you show up with nothing. It's like, well, you got to pay for shoes. He's like, but I'm a cobbler. I can make shoes.
Yeah. They're like, what are you going to make them with? Oh, fish. I'll make fish shoes.
Fuck. I'll mop the poop deck.
As you can imagine, the frontster often bought the bare minimum and kept the rest of the money. So the captain would be like, okay, I'll pay you $50 per person, but you need to make sure that they're on the boat and that they have that they're able to get up and start working.
Man, you said that went up to 1940?
I said as late as 1940.
Wow. That's crazy to think about. Because that's what, 80 years ago?
Yeah, not that long ago.
Which, again, if you look, there's probably stuff like that going on to this day.
Yeah. It's probably a little bit harder now because now it's probably like you're sitting in a bar and then you get a text be like, hey, come meet me in this dark tunnel. Come meet me in the basement under the bar. And then you're like, okay, step.
Well, it's like free shots in the basement. All right, I'm going to the basement.
Yeah,
Shots.
And they're like, we got cute girls in the basement. And then you're like, oh my God.
Hey, honey, I'll be right back.
It's just Craigslist ads.
Oh, yeah, that could be it. Well, that's where a lot of that stuff happens.
Meet me in the basement under this Portland bar.
Wait, were you guys going for vacation?
Portland, why?
I found this really cool, low-key, unknown bar.
Catfished.
And
then get catfished and wake up on a fucking Carnival cruise ship.
Just making hamburgers and pasta salad.
Help!
Whatever happened to Richard? I don't know. There's this really cute picture of him on a boat. It says sauce
Apparently
on it.
His first love was always the sea.
It says sauce on it. I don't know what that means. Are you sure it's not SOS? No, it's sauce.
No. I don't know what that means.
He was always so cultured.
Yeah. So, like you said, it stopped in around. It says here that they stopped around 1940. So now it's just a cool thing that you can take a tour of. So if you're ever in Portland, you can take a tour of the Shanghai tunnels.
Isn't that kind of creepy? Like you'll be walking the tunnels that somebody tried to escape and had a fear, the fear for them life going on at the moment. And we're walking around going, hey, look, let's post a selfie.
What's the difference between that and say walking around Gettysburg?
Yeah, I think
the Battle of Gettysburg or Alcatraz. They still do, tours of Alcatraz.
Yeah, prisons are always kind of Yeah, prisons are weird. I thought you were going to say like Auschwitz, but I don't think people go there. Well, some people do with like selfie.
I was doing my best to avoid bringing the Holocaust into a comedy podcast, but
yeah. Well, no, that's one of those
are.
I think you go to and you're just like, the weight. But I don't know what you would feel in like a Portland, slave trade place.
It is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You said it would be funny. I don't think it's funny.
No. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
No, but yeah, it's interesting that, again, I think like the 1940 part's what blows my mind. Because I would have said like 1901, 02.
Yeah.
But, well, Richard, you've took us on a trail through Portland that's led us to the Carnival Cruise. And somehow we got cheaters involved. So why don't you give us a little bit of Richard's closing thoughts?
What did we learn today? We learned that sometimes moderation is best. Always tip your bartender. I think should be a big takeaway from this.
Oof, buddy system.
Buddy system is good. And Richard Grieco's an asshole. I think that pretty much covers the spectrum, right?
Yeah, I think that pretty holds up. Well, yeah. Let me do a little boat keeping as we're getting ready to sweep the poop deck, and Richard's getting some food ready for all of those old 60-plus-year-olds. Visit our website.
Doing shuffleboard.
Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And we always want to thank our two best patrons in the world. They would totally be our buddies, and we'd have a good buddy system. And that's Wendy and Aaron.
Yep. We would email you first if we ended up on a Carnival cruise ship.
To avoid or to show up with us? Either or. It's always better with a friend. All right. Well, is there anything else before I close her out? No, I'm good, sir. All right. Well, that's all the Bromance have for this show. I'm Shawn. And I'm Richard. Remember, don't be a why. Be a why not. How long do you think we'd survive, you and I together on a ship? 4 hours. Oof. I was going to say like an hour, because I'd be like, my tummy hurts. I would either be eaten and or thrown off the boat.